Alrighty here. Sure the volume's turned up here. Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen. Today I'd like to discuss part 3 of expression magic, but also more importantly, how to protect yourself from it. And most importantly is the protection magic in general, because there's so much that is entailed in just the protection aspects that most people don't even discuss today. Now, protection magics can be anything from runes to herbalism, spell work, and having guardians, such as guardian demons or guardian angels, such as, say, for an example, even psychic work, mediumship, and learning how to build up those barriers. So today I'm going to show you some material in some different ways that you as an individual can go out, get these materials, and do things yourself as well, and begin your spiritual work. Now, the first thing is I introduced to you about a week or just about a week ago, expression magic, and how it relates, how it's as potent type of magic within different names as there is dream magic. Now, I also discussed how to actually apply expression magic and what it entails by the utilization of 2 different variations of practices, from indoor to outdoor practices within a form of lust or love rituals. Okay. Now, I could have gone into different aspects such as hatred, vengeance, say, for an example, curses, stuff like that. But the same rules apply as the ones given in the second video. So today, I'd like to just touch on protection magics, and not just protection magic, but also reversal magic when dealing with this. All right. Now, very few practitioners today actually touch on how to protect yourself. Okay. Now, in average magic, you'd want to utilize runes or herbalism, perhaps even some kind of sigil, such as the Wheel of Hecate, for an example, by Jason Miller. Okay. And Jason Miller's work is actually very, very good. And I actually brought that. That's actually one of the books that I brought out today off my shelf from my personal library. Now, Jason Miller's work is very, very good. He actually works a lot with Hecate, the goddess of witchcraft, ghosts, the underworld, and of justice. And for those of you who are not familiar with Hecate, she is a Greek goddess of the underworld. And some say that she's similar to Isis in Egyptian, and Freyja out of Norse, the threefold to the mother, maiden, and crone aspects. But Hecate is a very, very potent goddess. Her energies, her workings are very strong and powerful. Now, as for this book here, Jason Miller actually gives a detailed thing on sigils. Okay. But most importantly, and as soon as I find it here, the Wheel of Hecate. Okay. Now, this starts on page 85 and goes all the way to page 89. Okay. Now, he doesn't just bring her into the fold when it comes to reversal and protection magics, but he actually goes into an incantation that you can do. And it brings forth the Furies, the Gorgons, and the Fates. Okay, so you got justice in there, you've got vengeance, and you've got protection magics at the same time. But the thing is with Hecate is you got to remember she is a goddess of justice, which means that you might want to keep your nose, kind of cleaned because of the fact that if you utilize this sigil and you utilize her magic, the magics, and you invoke her or evoke her for any kind of ritual or of protection, reversal magic, or even, just a basic working, is that she will not distinguish between you and an actual criminal. Okay, so you really do need to keep your nose clean in this aspect because she will attack you as easily as she attacks a criminal. So I actually utilize this sigil and this incantation, to just try it out when I first got his book. And his book, this is a very potent one that I actually have recommended to numerous students of mine, to numerous customers that I've had over the years. And just 2 years ago, I had a friend of mine that lived one floor above me. And he came to me and he said that he was being harassed by somebody claiming to be an officer of the law out of Ohio. Now, the fact that this guy has never had any connection to Ohio, he's never had anybody that supposedly is from Ohio. So the fact that he's being harassed by somebody claiming to be an officer, I told him flat out, number one, an officer will not give you their badge number right off the bat without you asking specifically for it. I said, this is a scam, flat out. And it turned out to be a scam. So every day he'd get probably about 3, 4, maybe 5 phone calls from this individual. So he finally came to me and I did this ritual for him out of this book, Jason's Miller's book, Reversal and Protection Magic. And I drew the sigil, I charged it up, and I gave it to him. I told him, keep it on you at all times. And about a day later, about 2 days later, he comes to me and he says, they only contacted me one more time after you did this, and there was nobody called me ever on this since. He said no issues. Even to this day, he has had no issues with anybody bugging him, such as this. And what's interesting about this is he is now married, and he adopted his wife's son. And they live probably about a mile, maybe 2 miles down the road from where I am right now. And he's doing great. He's happy. He's got low stress. No nothing. So I mean, he still has it in his wallet today, which is awesome. I mean, the fact that he's still utilizing that and believing that it's working, it really does work. Now, on to other things. Some of the workings that you can do when it comes to expression magic is that one of the things, how do you fight against somebody that's utilizing this form of magic against you? Okay, and this is something that you really have to take into consideration because it is emotional. It is sheer, how should I say this, raw emotion. It is desire. It is the intent to utilize that will, that emotion to attack another individual. Okay, be it another practitioner or be it a individual that is utilized that it doesn't even practice magic. Let's say, for example, your former employer basically wronged you and the law is not on your side. They basically, dropped the ball and you turn to black magic or a black magic practitioner or any form of magical practitioner and you say, hey, this guy basically wronged me and he's broken the law. He's getting away with a lot of shit. How do I deal with this? I mean, now he's instead of, you know, he's out hurting all his employees. He's putting them down. He's doing this, or she's doing this, that, whatever. And how do you deal with this? I mean, it's weighing on me. You know what I'm saying? That is the type of expression magic. This is basically the drag of doubt. It is the dragging of depression magic. Okay. In this case, all this negativity that is going on with an individual, okay? Well, then, say for example, if I cast a spell and I utilize the sheer hatred, the sheer intent of, say, sadness, um, hatred, anger, rage, and my will is to destroy this individual within a form of destruction ritual, a curse, a hex. One of the symptoms of this is depression. It is the helplessness of not being able to do anything. No matter what you do, no matter if you pray to Jehovah or to whatever God, be it a god or a goddess, and it's just nothing's working. And it's most likely that you've been cursed by utilizing some form of destruction ritual. In this case, we're talking expression magic. So therefore, that intent, that feeling, is being included into the ritual and into, say for example, blood sorcery, utilizing your name, your address, your account, maybe a photo of you, whatever, and all that energy, all that negativity, all that feeling is being put into that ritual, and it's going after you. Okay, that is what I'm talking about here, and a lot of people touch on these type of things, but they don't tell you how to protect yourself. So in this case, when you're feeling that negative aspect of everything, where you're feeling depressed, you're having all these doubts, nothing's going your way, nothing's working for you, no matter what you do. How do you do this? Okay. Well, one of the things that you can utilize is called runes. Okay, rune magic is something that has been utilized for centuries. I'm talking thousands of years. Okay, it goes back to the Indio-Saxon. It goes back to the Germanic people. It goes back to the early Chaldeans, the Babylonians. It goes back to the Druids, the original Druids, not these ones that you see today. But it goes back a long, long way. And runes are capable of healing, but they're also utilized for protection. Okay, they're utilized for a lot of different aspects that a lot of people don't take into consideration outside of divination. Okay, telling your past, present, and future type thing. That's where people tend to go with it, but they don't get into the whole aspect of the meanings behind them. Okay, and I'll probably do a video on runes down the road, just kind of showing you this is what you can do, this is what it can be used for. You can use it for love spells. You can utilize runes for um, destruction rituals, protection rituals, protecting your home. I know people that have actually put runes as tattoos on their own flesh. Okay. So, I mean, you can link these things to yourself as well, to your altar room, to your home, to your car, to your family, even. Okay. So, I mean, there's a lot that you can do with them. So, um, rune magic is something that is very, very potent, and you can utilize it. Now, there's a lot of practitioners out there today that do speak on runes. For an example, Raymond Buckland in his book, The Complete Book of Witchcraft. It's a big blue book. You can't miss it. It's got a silver pentagram on it with a circle, and it's by Raymond Buckland. He has a good chapter just based off runes, how to link these runes together to make other, almost like a writing aspect. But he also has them broken down so you can actually understand what each one means. And on top of that, he's also got like 20 pages just on my next topic, which is herbalism, and from medical usage to various different other usage that you can go into. And I'll touch on that in a little bit. Raven Silverwolf in her the complete was it the complete book of shadows for the new generation witch, I think it is. I can't remember the name of that book, but it's a big red book by Raven Silverwolf, and it's a very good book. She's got a lot of things on runes. She's got a lot of things on deities, a lot of things on animals. She's got about at least about 2 pages, if not 2.5, just on animals and what they represent. I mean, cats are loyal. They're loyal to a fault. They're excellent familiars. They can warn you when something's coming or if something's even there. Dogs are pack hunters. They're full of wisdom. Serpents are wisdom. You know, Cats are protective. They answer to Bastet. They're the guardians of the underworld, according to the Witcher's Book of the Dead, especially the Egyptian Book of the Dead. You've probably seen the movie The Mummy, starring Brendan Fraser, from back in the 90s. Very good movie, but it's the one thing they actually did get correct is that cats, according to Egyptian mythology, are the protectors or the guardians of the underworld. This is why the dead fear them. Now, in witchcraft, on the other hand, they're considered former witches. They're former sorcerers. So therefore, they're here to as our familiar spirits, as the Judeo-Christian Bible would call them, as being familiar spirits. Therefore, they're here to help us. Now, as a psychic aspect, even though there are a lot of runes that you can do from various different glyphs and sigils, such as Raymond Buckland's Signs, Symbols, and Omens. Very good book. I recommend it because it will show you a lot about the various different sigils. It will show you different writing styles. It will show you different glyphs, things from various different traditions, from the travelers, the gypsies, to the Russells, say, for example, the Christians, to the witchcraft, to the Buddhism. Just about everything you can think of is in this book, and it's very, very well written. Now, as for the next thing, which is sigils, okay, the Clavicle of Solomon, which is a very, very old grimoire, deals with high witchcraft, but also low witchcraft. And it deals a lot with sigil magics. And a lot of practitioners, especially a lot of grimoires over the last 1,000 years, have actually touched on it. And one of the best ones out there is called the Black Pullet. And it looks like this, okay? Now, the reason I brought this out is because of the fact that you have a lot of protection amulets and stuff. Okay, different designs. And it actually goes into, let me see here. Say, for example, right here. Okay. I don't know if you can read that or not. But this is stuff that you can draw on metal. Okay. If you're great with metal work, you can actually edge this in. Same thing with wood. Okay. And this book is very, very, very good. It's got a lot of different things. And this was actually recommended to me by a friend of mine that is a publisher of from the Severed Heads Publishing, George LeBold. Okay, he's also a former member of the Cathedral of the Black Goat. He's the former, I guess you could say, second in command of that group. Very, very wise man. He's recommended so much work to me, and especially from the Order of the Nine Angles. Very, very good works, and I do recommend that you look up Severed Heads Publishing. You can even go underneath Lulu Publishing or Lulu.com and type in some of the books on that way. But they're very, very cheap, anywhere from 10 to 20 bucks. Really not that expensive, but they're very, very good. And this book here, The Black Pullet, deals with a lot of things, from calling forth beings that will guide you to treasures, to protection, to love magics and stuff like that. But it's one of those things where you can actually learn how to do sigil work and how to utilize them. One of the other books that I would recommend is from Sorceress Cagliostro, the Necromancer. She's got a small book on sigils that can be dealt with protection magics, but also how to curse and hex, and a lot of other things included. So that's another book that I would recommend. I didn't think to pull that one off my personal library that's in the other room. So now, with that said, they you can get into herbalism. Herbalism is something that I just quickly touched on when I was speaking of the Complete Book of Witchcraft by Raymond Buckling. Okay, now there's a lot of herbs that a lot of people don't realize that you can utilize. For an example, um, frankincense, okay, myrrh, and dragon's blood, okay. Three very, very potent things that you can get at Walmart, okay. Just go to the incense aisle and you can pick up these incense. One stick per thing, okay. Be it one stick of dragon's blood, one stick of myrrh, one stick of dragon's blood, one of each. Burn them together and go to every entrance point to your home, to your vehicle. Okay. And you can use any type of movement that you want, any type of mantra. Okay. Be it in nomine, dinastri, satanas, luciferi, excelsi, if you are a Satanist. Or if you want, you can go with the in the name of the god and goddess. If you're Wiccan or pagan, okay, it doesn't matter, what path you're on. You can utilize your own specific gods and goddesses, okay, to do this. Now, let's take it from a satanic point of view. So, what I would do is I'd walk over to a window with one of each and go, in nomine, dinastri, satanas, luciferi, excelsi, in the form of an inverted pentagram. And then I'd go to every archway, every window, every vent, on both sides. Now, obviously, because I'm on the fourth floor, I can't do it outside the windows. Okay, so you just utilize one side. Whereas you go to your main door in and out of your apartment or your home, and you can do both sides that way. And trust me, this actually does work. I did this down in Clarksville, Texas, where I had some Christian issues. They basically, when you're basically have rumors going back and forth about you're being banned from stores just because you're a different religion. It's the Bible Belt, so therefore they're the hard ass, socialists that are basically, if you're not part of the good old boys group, then you're not going to get anywhere. Type fanatics. There's basically a cult down that way. But my point is this: we ended up putting this up. A pagan high priest friend of mine and myself, he did his thing, I did my thing. And I mean, I'm talking, these people would walk across your lawn right up close to your windows. Okay. But as soon as this went up, they literally did a wide berth around the property. They didn't even walk across the lawn. They couldn't. So this does work. Okay. Now, there are other types of protection things out there, such as sage. Sage is a cleanser, and this is going to get into the next topic, which is psychic abilities. Okay, psychic protection. You can utilize rosemary. You can utilize salt. Okay, black salt is something that's very good, but you can use sea salt, rock salt, even. If you're not into working with demons or evil beings or what is classified as evil beings, rock salt is a good way to keep them out. Okay. Whereas, say for an example, gopher dust would keep a hellhound out or whatever. Some form of spiritual black dog or animal, like a raven or whatever, would keep you. This would literally keep them out because they can't. It's like with a spirit, it's a cleansing agent, but it's also a purifying agent and it's a protective agent, all in one. This is why so many practitioners utilize salt. Okay, it's one of the oldest traditions out there. Now, as I said, sage, I would go with white sage. Okay, because white sage is not only as a Native American. Okay, it's something that is a cleansing. It's like a reset button when it's burning and it goes around you. It may be a little stinky, but It's something that will cleanse you, but it will also protect you. And it's also a spiritual cleanser. And it'll get you aligned with the right forces, especially if you're Native American. Now, the next author is someone who's very, very good. And before I get into him, I should actually touch on this. William W. Hewitt. Okay. This is actually one of the first books I ever got on psychic development. And it looks like this. Okay. This is for the beginners. This book shows you how to do it, how to set up your psychic defenses. And I can tell you that this book helped me a lot when I first began into psychic developments. And it'll even help you within a form of divination, such as the Ouija board or the, say, for example, the pendulum. Okay, so it does work. And when you're dealing with chiromancy, this also works. So, for example, you notice the yes and no aspects of the equal armed cross. It deals with a lot of different aspects from clairvoyance, telepathy, astral travel, psychometry, psychic healing, divination, communicating with animals and spiritual entities. And this book literally helped me out a lot when I was first getting into this aspect. And then somebody pointed me into the direction of a guy that I now follow, and I do recommend his work to you. The guy's name is Christopher Penziak. He is a well-known shaman that goes up and down the eastern seaboard and does lectures. Okay, but he's got numerous books out. He's even got schools that he has. One of which is actually one state from where I am, which is very awesome. And the book that I would recommend from him is right here. The Temple, or the Inner Temple of Witchcraft. Now, this book deals with magic, meditation, and psychic development as well. Now, this book here does a lot of things from working with the various different degrees of your own mind to exercises and working with not only your Kundalini, but also your Katra, your chakras, opening everything up and getting to that higher state of development. And you won't find any rituals in this book, by the way. So if you're thinking you're going to get these books and just start doing rituals, think again. Because I will tell you, if you're serious about magic, you're serious about witchcraft, you'll get this book because of the fact that it deals with a lot of knowledge. It deals with a lot of different, how should I say this, exercises. But most importantly, it actually shows you what each thing does. Okay? From casting, let's say, for an example, protective rings, to, say, for an example, the preparation of the sigiliums, such as the evil eye, the pentagram, the circle of empowerment. Say, for example, a cross, the Star of David, the Kwai Tritra. Okay, dealing with various different things from the principles of magic, the Vesica, Pisces, to geometry and a whole bunch of other things that will blow your mind. It even breaks it down into the three minds as well, which is something I really enjoyed. Now, the next book by him is called The Witch's Shield. And it looks like this. Okay? This is actually one of my newest books because I didn't realize he had written one of these. So I wanted to get it and read through it. And I was amazed just by going through the glossary, just to see what it touched on. And not only did it touch on a lot of things, but you notice what's right here? It's got a DVD that came with it. So, I mean, you have your choice. You can either do it on, in your VCR, or if you're like me, I'd rather read and practice that way. But it deals with a lot of things such as revenge, retribution, and curses, to dealing with anger, sigilliums, direct action magics, banishing spells, the witch's eye, dealing with herbalism, the right time to do things, clearing a haunted house, to say, for an example, dealing with astronomy, the zodiacs, dealing with the gods and goddesses such as Hathor, Hecate, Frey, Demeter, Danu, Dagda, Bridge, Bast, and such, to animals, going all the way up to working with spirits, working with advanced psychic defenses, working with mirrors. Let's see, keep going down. Protection magics, boundary magics, dealing with grounding techniques, dealing with elemental aspects, going with the triple spiral. There's so much information here that it, again, it blew my mind. And I've read this book now twice since I got it. And it doesn't just touch on witchcraft. It touches on shamanism. It touches on voodooism. It touches on various different traditions as well. So I do recommend The Witch's Shield to you. Now, here's a topic for my last thing, is a topic that a lot of people really don't touch on. Now, when we think of higher senses, innocence, when we talk about purity, a lot of people will say, well, a child is the most pure. They're pure of heart. They're pure of everything, because they're innocent. They don't know anything. But what happens as we get older? We're hounded with things from, say, for example, the news. Things are beat into our heads from, this is right, this is wrong. If you can't do this, you can't do that. This is a type of hounding, what I call houndation magic. Okay, because what it is it beats you down to the point where, again, you end up getting into that state of mind of self-cursing. You're getting into that state of mind, well, guess what? Now I'm getting depressed, I'm losing heart, losing fight, type thing. And then on top of that, you've got things where Hollywood produced films are hounding you with sexuality. You're dealing with things of the world. You got corporate stuff getting mixed in. You're getting, family life, mixed into things. And a lot of things are tearing you down and pulling you from every which way. And as you get older, a lot of this stuff you kind of lose touch with. Okay. And this is something that, like I said, a lot of people will not touch on. And that's why I like to associate myself with a lot of, the real practitioners, because a lot of us get together sometimes, and you see things like, for example, I had touched on something a while back, and it was kind of interesting because it's kind of like confirmation. Because next thing you know, you got somebody else touching on it, or you'll get online and you'll see a post on it, and it's like, damn, I just touched on this, So, but it's even better when you get some big time authors and practitioners like Michael W. Ford, or E.A. Koetting, Curtis Joseph, S. Connolly Reeser, J.D. For an example, you got Joseph Nunn, Frank White, even. These guys are huge out there. There's in my book, there's some of the world's leading occultists, and you see these things, and you get in touch. You pick up a book, and somebody's touching on this stuff. So it's like, okay, how does this work? I mean, because number one, you've touched on something. Something's been introduced to you, and you do a post on it, or you do a video on it, okay? And it becomes something that is part of your own routine, okay? So how do you touch on that? How does it become visually accepted, or visually accepted, I should say? And when you see other authors, other practitioners suddenly post on this stuff, and you haven't been on for a few days, you haven't had any contact with them, and again, it's there. This is what I call confirmation. Okay. So when we talk about psychic development, when we talk about protection and reversal magics, when we talk about power in general, okay, and what an individual can do just by right here, okay, and right here, utilizing your techniques, your magic, your will, your desire. You can go into skills. You can go into spiritualism, such as working with demons, the jinn, angels, the fae, gods, demigods, and such. Okay? You can go into glyphs. You can go into geometry, astrology. Okay? We know that the waning moon is a great time to do curses and hexes because it's that darker aspect. It's a negative field. We know that between 3 a.m. and 6 a.m., you're in what is called the Z state of mind. So therefore, you're at your weakest point. Therefore, good time to do a curse or a hex. Okay? But what if you want to do healing? It's the same thing. You're just using a different portion of your brain. You're using different energies, different techniques. Okay. And again, this comes down to personal power. And a lot of people, as I said, have lost touch with their power. Because when you have that power, you have that imagination when you are a child. But because of all the foundations of right and wrong and things in the world, getting people trying to get you into Christianity or the Judo-Christian Society and saying everything else is bad, without, say, for example, getting into, say, Satanism or Wiccan, pagan, voodoo, Voodoo, uh, Hoodooism, Santeria, Palo Mayombe, whatever. You know, there's a lot of knowledge out there, and everybody has a piece of the pie. And without getting into that and just leaning towards one or the other, you're really not getting that bigger picture. So I came across this book here by Devin Hunter, and it's called The Witch's Book of Power. And I've read this book at least 6 times now. And each time I read it, I get something else out of it. But I also get that understanding of what he's talking about with personal power, from your own personal zodiac to alchemical symbols to cosmic powers. You name it, it's in here. And it's amazing. And I recommend this book to you, especially if you're really serious about magics and wanting to protect yourself and learn how to use your own aura, your own abilities that you can awaken within yourself just by utilizing and opening the doors. Christopher Penziak, for an example, has a book called the Temple of Shamanic Witchcraft. Okay, this book not only breaks down the 7 layers of your brain from bottom to top or top to bottom, but also the 3 sections: your frontal lobe, the center, and your shadow. Okay, a lot of the pain and everything that you deal with on a daily basis, you just basically put it into the back of your mind and you don't deal with it. And a lot of times, this is where the explosive nature comes from. And even in my own study of psychology, of working with emotions and feelings, you can see how they can become quite dangerous when put in the wrong hands or expressed in the wrong way. And again, this goes right back into expression magic. Emotional magics are very potent. This is why Aleister Crowley was known as the wickedest man alive. It was because he knew through the Hermeatics and through the Kabbalah and through a lot of his different traditions where he got into sex magic, where he got into cursing and hexing, and how we can get into image magic. Again, it is all part of expression magic where if you follow somebody down, down the road and you start walking like them, and even there's a video on YouTube of Aleister Crowley doing this. Impressive, where he's walking along and all of a sudden he just falls to his knees. And a couple steps later, the guy that he was imitating falls to his knees. Again, expression magic. You're expressing your will onto that individual. So you see where it can become a part of so many different aspects. But at the same time, it could be a good thing, but also a harmful thing. So when you're dealing with expression magic and you're dealing with protection magics, you really want to know what you're doing. And that's why I recommended these books to you, because they're literally the top of the food chain, in my opinion. Out of all the books I've ever had, out of all the books that I've practiced and from and worked with, okay, to those that have actually been taught to me by people in other traditions that have shared their knowledge with me and actually taught me their ways. These are the ones that I would recommend hands down, because they will teach you a lot. They will help you, guide you. They will allow you to rise like the phoenix to a whole new level. But they'll also show you responsibility. Okay? So that's been this video on expression magic part 3 with protection magics. All right. I hope it's been enlightening. I hope it's been educational. And I hope you've learned some things from it. And I hope you do go out and get these works by these authors and literally start doing your own. Study them, do the exercises, and just do what you got to do with them. All right. But I would recommend Devin Hunter's book as being one of the main ones, because his point of view of regaining power is something that is very unique. I'm surprised more people have not come up with that type of book like he did. It definitely gets you thinking. It gets you into a much better state and a much better footing when it comes to witchcraft, when it comes to shamanism, spiritualism, and everything. You're welcome. So with that said, I'm going to end this video, and down the road, I will probably be doing another video on it, on perhaps herbalism or runes, maybe a combination, because they tend to go hand in hand, at least in my experience. All right. Feel free to get in touch with me. Feel free to ask questions. I will always make myself available to you. And okay. I don't know what that cat got into, but she's definitely hyper as all hell. But anyways, as I was saying, I will always make myself available to you, and if I have the information, the knowledge that you're looking for, I will definitely share it with you. And if not, well, I could probably find it for you. All right? Have a good day. This Dark Sorcerer is out.